we're on to our regular agenda items. First item is item 11, Comprehensive Design Plan CDP 22001 Saddle Ridge. We have Mr. Tedesco representing the applicant. This is an evidentiary hearing, so I'm going to require those attending to provide testimony to take an oath. I don't know, Mr. Tedesco, if there's anyone on your side who needs to be sworn in. And there is, I think, one or two folks who are signed up in opposition who will also need to be sworn in as well. So anybody who wants to be speaking, wants to be sworn in, please come online. Ideally, I'd like to be able to see you just so we can see your
Mr. Chairman, good morning. Yeah, I would, not knowing kind of what direction the case may go into, I know we have some citizens with us this morning. I would just ask all my colleagues on the design team just to queue up and take an oath, just so that's out of the way if they're needed.
Okay, that sounds great. Mr. Brown, good to see you. We have Stan Brown, People's Zoning Council here.
Good morning.
I don't think you need to be sworn in, Mr. Brown.
No, I don't.
You can if you want to, but we take your word all the time anyhow. So let me swear folks in. For those who are intending to provide testimony, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, consider yourself sworn in. Mr. Brown will be testifying as needed following the applicant's presentation. And I will now turn to for staff presentation first, and we have Ms. Lockhart who will begin the staff presentation. Ms. Lockhart, take it away.
All right, good morning. Doing a sound check?
Can hear you fine.
Okay, great, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Dominique Lockhart with the zoning section. Item number 11 on the agenda is Comprehensive Design Plan CDP-22001, titled Saddle Ridge, which proposes a residential development of up to 954 dwelling units. Next slide. Okay, the subject property is in Planning Area 85A in Council District 9. Next slide. More specifically, the 289-acre site is located on the north side of Accokeek Road, approximately 2,000 feet east of its intersection with McKendree Road. Next slide. The property is currently zoned LCD or Legacy Comprehensive Design Zone, but is being reviewed in accordance with the prior zoning ordinance, under which this site was within the RS or Residential Suburban Zone. Next slide, please. The subject site is not located within any overlay zones under the prior or current zoning ordinance. Next slide. The aerial photograph shows that the site is currently undeveloped. Next slide, please. The site has varying topographic conditions with steep slopes located throughout the subject property. Next slide. This slide shows the master plan rights-of-way in the vicinity of the site. The property is bordered to the north by Floral Park Road, which is a primary roadway. To the south, the property is bordered by Accokeek Road, which is a collector roadway. Further east of the site is Brandywine Road, a collector roadway, and also Branch Avenue, which is identified as a freeway. Next slide, please.
And right away, here's the little thumbnails.
Okay. Here is a closer bird's eye view of the 289-acre site with the various environmental features, and the site, as mentioned previously, is currently undeveloped. Next slide. The subject property was the subject of zoning map amendment A-10060, which rezoned the property from the prior rural residential and residential estate zones to the RS or residential suburban zone. The density range permitted with the basic plan was 737 to 955 dwelling units. Next slide. The proposed residential development will consist of up to 621 single-family detached dwellings and up to 333 single-family attached units for a total of a maximum of 954 dwelling units. Next slide, please. The illustrative plan submitted with the application shows the development will contain 5 development pods to include various residential dwellings, open space amenities, and several sites for passive and active recreation uses. Next slide. The subject site proposes 2 primary vehicular access points from Floral Park Road to the north and 3 access points from Accokeek Road to the south. The development will also be further connected through pedestrian trails, sidewalks, and private roadways. Next slide. An exhibit was provided by the applicant that shows potential recreation amenities, which may include community gathering spaces, fitness areas, walking trails, gardens, and other various design amenities. Next slide, please. The proposed development will have approximately 26 acres of preserved open space. Next slide. This slide shows the tree conservation plan, which shows the woodland conservation requirement of 89 acres will be met. Next slide. Prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant provided 4 exhibits, which included revised findings and conditions and community outreach documentation. The exhibits have been included in the additional backup. Staff has reviewed all revisions submitted and is in agreement with the proposed changes with 1 minor edit to the revision on page 13 of the staff report. Specifically, in the paragraph under finding number 7, the revised language will read as follows. Quote, in summary, the applicant has conceptually proposed density increments based on criterions 1 and 3 as noted above. Staff recommends approval of both requested density increments, which results in a potential total of 220 additional dwelling units. When added to the base density of 736 units, the resulting 956 dwelling units would exceed the maximum dwelling units allowed, which is 954. Therefore, the subject application requests a maximum of 954 dwelling units, or 218 dwelling units above the base density, end quote. Staff agrees with the remaining revisions outlined in the applicant's exhibit. In addition, a letter of opposition was received on October 13th. The resident was opposed to the development due to traffic and safety concerns, school capacity, impacts to the environment, and impacts to the availability of public services. The staff report includes findings on pages 9 and 19 through 21 that reviews the public facilities, environmental, and traffic impacts of the proposed development. To note, the development will occur across multiple phases, and each phase will be evaluated by regulations for various infrastructure improvements, including stormwater, water and sewer, and roadways. Additional tests will also be made at the time of the preliminary plan of subdivision to ensure facilities will continue to be available and adequate. In conclusion, staff recommends that the planning board adopt the findings and approve comprehensive design plan CDP-22001 and type 1 tree conservation plan TCP1-012-2023, subject to the conditions found in the staff report as revised by applicant's exhibit 1 and the correction that was read into the record. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lockhart. Commissioners, any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant? Seeing none, turn to you, Mr. Tedesco. The floor is yours. Introduce yourself for the record and any members of your team as you see fit.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a sound check. You can hear me okay?
Yep, you're fine.
Fantastic. Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board, as well as Mr. Brown, People's Zoning Council. It's a pleasure to be before you this morning. For the record, my name is Matthew Tedesco with the law firm of McNamee Hosey here in Greenbelt in Prince George's County on behalf of the applicant, which is D.R. Horton, Inc. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before I get into my full presentation, I would be remiss if I didn't follow on the coattails of Ms. Lockhart in that concluding statement with respect to the responsiveness to the letter that was received by a citizen. I would just echo Ms. Lockhart's summary with respect to that, as well as her conclusions and recommendations. I want to thank her in advance for her review of this application, and I'll get into that in a second. But I did want to just, for the record, make sure that I incorporate and adopt Ms. Lockhart's concluding statements for the record. As I mentioned, I'm here on behalf of D.R. Horton, who is represented this morning by Mr. Matt Muddiman. D.R. Horton, as you all know, we've appeared before you on a few occasions with respect to its holdings and projects within the county. But just to further reiterate, D.R. Horton is America's #1 home builder since 2002, with more than 1 million homes delivered nationwide. In 45 of the top 50 markets within the United States, D.R. Horton ranks among the top 5 in 37 of those 45 markets. It's my pleasure to be representing them here this morning with that type of pedigree. Also with us this morning, we have a number of individuals from Rogers Consulting. Rogers Consulting are the land planning, civil engineering, environmental planning team for this project, represented this morning by Mr. Alex Jagus, Matthew Lakin, who's an expert in land planning and landscape architecture, Christine Gillette, who's an expert in landscape architecture, Charlie Howell, an expert civil engineer, and Mr. Rob Swam, an expert and environmental consultant for the project. To conclude, and last but not least, our traffic engineer with Lenhart Traffic Consulting, Mr. Mike Lenhart, is with us. As I mentioned at the opening, Mr. Chairman, I do want to thank your staff. These are big projects with a lot of different layers, a lot of review, both administrative and technical, and certainly it takes your entire team, as well as our team, working together to address issues and concerns, not only that your staff raised, but the community raises with projects of this size. And so I just want to publicly thank, too many people to name by name, but the various sections that reviewed this application from countywide planning, environmental planning, transportation planning, urban, the development review teams from the zoning section, urban design section, and subdivisions and sections in particular. I just want to publicly thank all of them for all of their work on this case and all the cases. This property has a long history as it relates to prior surface mining activities going back more than 50 years. That's outlined in your staff report at pages 5. I don't need to belabor it, but there's a long history of different sand and gravel mining operations that have occurred, as well as other types of special exception type uses out on the property. As Ms. Lockhart indicated, this property is the subject of a basic plan. And since the initiation of this project by this development team and this applicant, even prior to us moving forward on the basic plan, which was recommended for approval by this board in July of 2021, the zoning hearing examiner in May of 2022, and ultimately approved by the district council almost a year ago to the day on October 17th, 2022. The vision and the goal of the applicant and the team was to create the best possible land plan while preserving and enhancing the property's unique environmental features, consisting of the Birch Branch and associated tributaries, which are highlighted in one of the exhibits that staff presented to you, thereby creating a very unique and special, well-planned and well-designed community. There's no doubt, as supported by the staff and all reviewing agencies, that this comprehensive design plan further advances this vision and goal and satisfies all the required findings of approval. We would just reference you to the technical staff report as well as the statement of justification, which we further incorporate as our testimony here today. This application and the project design, as the planning board has come to expect and anticipate from this applicant and our design team, results in and produces a sustainable, resilient community in a village-like setting that takes advantage of the natural environmental features while also improving upon those features. The development pods are oriented along the Birch Branch and its associated tributaries, the property's main environmental asset. Several active and passive recreational areas, each with interconnected site amenities by way of trails, sidewalks, and walkways, with thematic community spaces are proposed. While each pod may have its own unique character featuring different house styles and types with different options for indoor and outdoor living, the overall neighborhood creates a unique and true sense of place that will be a cohesive, successful community that is unified by common facilities, community character, and a common sense of place. As Ms. Lockhart indicated, the CDP consists of two housing types, single-family detached and single-family attached. I wanted to state for the record, no multifamily is proposed. I believe there was a letter that submitted that had some concerns or opposition to multifamily. There is no multifamily product proposed with the CDP. The SDP, future SDPs, which there'll probably be numerous, will include various models, sizes, house types for each housing type, various options for indoor and outdoor living, and various price points for residents to age in place. As I've mentioned before in other cases, we are in the midst of a national, regional, and local housing crisis, further exacerbated by recent political policy decisions. However, by providing a well-designed, amenity-rich, environmentally sensitive, comprehensively planned community that will offer a mix of products at various sizes and price points, we believe this community will directly respond to the housing crisis and implement the county's housing opportunity for all, its comprehensive housing strategy, while also implementing the goals and policies of Plan 2035 and the Subregion 5 Master Plan. And we did do a comprehensive analysis with respect to the goals and policies of those plans. And I would just cite you to the statement of justification that's in your backup at pages 11 through 28. Also, I just want to note for the record that the Washington, D.C. metropolitan region needs to add up to 250,000 housing units between now and the year 2030, just to keep up with job creation. This is not a real estate industry number that I'm making up. It's an official estimate from the Council of Governments, an organization that includes Prince George's County government. Prince George's County has never adopted a target that would specify its share of that total, but based upon the county's share of regional population, which is approximately about 17% of COG, that would equate to about 5,000 to 6,000 units a year. That's about twice the number we are currently seeing today. The COG target is a minimum, not a ceiling, and exceeding that number would make housing more affordable and make Prince George's County a more economically competitive environment. Indeed, the applicant is implementing similar design and concept strategies throughout the region with great success and seeks to continue to build upon his prior successes within the county. The creation of smaller neighborhoods physically connected to the larger community by a series of trails, walks that create a village-like setting while also creating a sense of place with much needed housing in close proximity to one of the county's 26 local centers, being the Brandywine Local Center. This project furthers the goals and policies of the master plan. And just citing from the zoning hearing examiner's decision in the basic plan at page 3, one of the goals of the master plan is to, quote, provide for compatible new development in older established communities of Accokeek, Brandywine, and Clinton. That's at page 5 of the master plan, page 35 of the master plan. The master plan also noted that other portions of the Brandywine community for which this project is located, quote, are envisioned as being primary low density residential, which means 3.5 units to the acre, which this project satisfies and meets per the basic plan approval. And much of it will be in a large master plan subdivisions, particularly in the north and western portions of the community, such as Saddle Creek and the estates at Pleasant Valley, close quote, page 42 of the master plan. Now, although the use of the word Saddle Creek is referenced in the master plan, as things tend to happen over time, projects get different names. The reference to Saddle Creek is Saddle Ridge, the project before you. So the master plan envisioned a large, comprehensive designed community within close proximity to the Brandywine Local Center at the time of the adoption of the master plan. As part of our exhibits that we submitted, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we did, as we typically do, and as we did with the basic plan case, we did hold a virtual outreach meeting on September 6th. Exhibits from that meeting are provided in your additional backup of pages 9 through 26. We've included the PowerPoint presentation for your consideration, the notification letters that were sent, and then the list of all the addresses for which that notification letter was sent. In closing, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, I believe, and as indicated in one of the letters that was submitted, that we're likely to hear from citizens who have legitimate concerns as it relates to traffic, particularly in the Brandywine area. Having grown up not too far from the Brandywine area in Upper Marlboro, I can tell you in my entire lifetime, the traffic through Brandywine has always been an issue. It's been an issue long before any of these projects ever came online, long before a lot of this land area in Brandywine was zoned heavy industrial and rezoned for more higher density residential, and long before the area was designated as a local center. And the reason for that is because Route 5 and 301 are national regional corridors. They serve traffic from Virginia, St. Mary's, Charles counties, Calvert counties, traveling up through our county into Washington, D.C. and points north. As a result of that, since 1993, the master plan of Subregion 5 anticipated and contemplated the utilization of a road club to facilitate improvements along this corridor for which no one development could ever address, given just the magnitude of the traffic that traverses these freeways. So although I am sympathetic and understanding of the concerns with respect to the belief that more density generates more traffic and therefore we're exacerbating an already existing problem, the reality of the matter is that there are a number of projects that have come online, infrastructure projects and road improvement projects that have come online or that are coming online to address this regional issue. And Mr. Chairman, we have examples of all those, and following your lead, I'm happy to have Mr. Lenhart go through those for the record if you'd like to hear a summary of some of those infrastructure and road improvement projects. Otherwise, I can wrap up, but I'll follow your lead on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Commissioners, I'm not sure we need to hear the projects unless there's any specific questions that you all have around that. I think we're okay, Mr. Tedesco.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to belabor the point if we didn't need to. Let me just say this for the record. There are a number of existing and ongoing projects within the area that are serving the local transportation networks. This project in particular will also be required, as provided in your staff report and in your referrals from your transportation planning section, which and particularly I would just reference you to your backup at pages 67, 68, 69, and 70 as it relates to CR9, 2017, the master plan, and the utilization of the road club. This project will be required to contribute funds to the road club in excess of $3 million. An additional traffic impact analysis will be required at the time of the preliminary plan pursuant to the ADQ requirements. At that time, we will continue to work with your staff as well as the State Highway Administration, DPI, and DPWT with respect to the possible utilization of those road club fees in the form of a developer participation agreement or MOU, if so deemed necessary to make actual improvements. Otherwise, adequacy will be determined and found at the time of preliminary plan with respect to the utilization of the road club. So again, I would just conclude by saying we understand and recognize the concerns with respect to infrastructure and traffic. Certainly, we understand the district council's concerns regarding that topic and subject. But as it relates to this project, as it relates to this area, in close proximity to a local center of our general plan, as well as in full compliance with our master plan, the use and utilization of the road club, all adequacy and required findings have and will be met in this instance, to and include section 27, 512. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to conclude at this point, answer any questions you may have. We do have our entire team with us this morning to answer any specific questions. And if there aren't any, I would submit and look forward to responding in rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deska. Commissioners, before we hear from the public and Mr. Brown as well, any questions for the applicant or members of his team at this point? No questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Deska. So we're gonna hear from folks in the public. We've got a few folks who signed up to speak. Before that, let me turn to Mr. Brown. If there's anything that you want to bring to us at this point.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. So let me go through the list real quick. I just want to see who's here. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Kusar, because you're, I can see you on the screen. I know you've been having some technical difficulties. Ms. Kusar, can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. I don't think she can, so we'll keep working on the technical issues.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, yeah. Can you hear us?
Okay, thank you. I'm having a little difficulty. I can go ahead and
Ms.
speak.
Ms. Kusar, I'm not asking you to speak yet. I'm just trying to see who's here first. So
Okay.
hold on for one second. Thank you. I appreciate that. We have Louise Gallia. I see you there.
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Demetia King. Is there a Demetia King on the line?
Thank you.
Don't see it. Don't see her. Carlene Powell.
Here.
Okay, great, excellent. So I've got three of you who are going to speak. I don't know if you coordinated your testimonies as well at all, or give me a sense of how much time each of you need to speak. Typically, we'll have folks speak for up to 3 minutes, but if you are the opposition parties here, I want to give you a little latitude if you need a bit more time. What do you think you need? Ms. Gallia, how much time do you think you need?
Just less than 2 minutes, Chairman Shapiro.
Okay. Ms. Kusar, how much time do you think you'll need?
I'll try to stay within your 3-minute limit.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. And Ms. Powell, Carlene Powell, how much time do you think you'll need?
Within the 3-minute limit.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. So let me go in the reverse order of what we have. Let's start with Ms. Kusar, then we hear from Ms. Powell, then we hear from Ms. Gallia. So Ms. Kusar, you go first. If you could identify yourself for the record, you were sworn in, right?
I'm not sure that I was sworn in.
So let me swear you in real quick. Do you please raise your right hand, Ms. Kusar? There we go. You solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Consider yourself sworn in. You'll see a clock in front of you. That's just to help us manage the time, okay? And if you could introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Okay, my name is Gloria Kauser. I'm a resident.
Sorry, see your name wrong.
Okay, I'm a resident and recent homeowner in the villages of Savannah. I'm a retired urban planner. I've worked my career in housing. I've done everything from development to property management in multifamily and mid-size and such. I've come to appreciate the beauty and the sustainable design of the housing development which I now live in. That is the villages of Savannah. And I support my neighbors in the Savannah Homeowners Association. I believe there's a chance for better outcomes in planning and development using good design and public-private partnerships to balance the community's growth. And I believe that decision makers need to be flexible and inclusive to overcome the potential short-sightedness in what's being proposed. Know what that was. Let me thank the PG County planning staff for quickly responding to my late requests for information. I'm new to this process, but they sent me lots of information on the residential trends and statistics. Now, I admit I don't even know the name of the developer for Saddle Ridge. I could only find the attorney's name on the paperwork. However, it would have been helpful for me to know the developer's identity on paper and what the track record is. Nevertheless, here are a few points I hope can be considered. First of all, in the area of on-site community facilities, these are such an important feature of a large residential community. And Sandy Ridge, when complete, Saddle Ridge, when completed, will consist of nearly 1,000 households. The proposal that I read casually mentions a community clubhouse, gardens, dog park, fitness areas, meeting, gathering places with no specificity as to where these are going to be located in the site plan or any commitment of the planning to include such. How is this going to appear? How is it going to be managed? Transportation and parking is another area of concern. Brandywine Road is a 2-lane street that will receive a large increase in traffic over the next 6 years, not only from Saddle Ridge development, but also the Woodlands and also the villages of Savannah. This will need to be adjusted because that increase is rather significant. I'll quickly go on. Emergency services and police response. There was recently a tragic fire in the Brandywine area for which responders could not get to the victims in time, and 2 deaths resulted. Have the current level of emergency services and police responses been taken into account with the planning? How about a community lighting plan and some defensible space features to enhance public safety? The impact on the schools, I also have a concern about. But I appreciate that there will be attention to open space and recreation. I just hope it is consistent with more than just a trail through the woods. There will be teenagers and young people living in the development, and they need playgrounds. They need basketball courts and other courts, field sports, picnic areas. The aquatic center is nice, but its capacity has already been exceeded. So we need other facilities in the area. And I could go on to talk about landscaping and stormwater management, but I imagine these will be dealt with in the future. I've exceeded my time, so I want to relinquish my time for the sake of the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Kauser. I imagine that Mr. Tedesco or members of his team will, in their rebuttal and closing, will be able to address some of the very specific questions that you have related to the facilities and to the level of service for public safety and other things. So I'm seeing him nodding his head, but look to hear at least some measures on that for the applicants too. Okay. I appreciate you taking the time and your very, very thoughtful and detailed remarks. Much appreciated. Next, we'll go to Carleen Powell. Ms. Powell?
Yes.
You and we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Ms. Powell, before you start, were you sworn in?
I'm not sure. I remember you saying something about being sworn in.
Let me do it again just to be
Okay.
safe. If you could raise your right hand, please.
Mm.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Consider yourself sworn in. Ms. Powell, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours. Again, we'll put a clock up there just to help manage the time, but take it away.
Right. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Colleen Powell, a retired Prince George's County public school educator who worked in schools in South County of Prince George's County. I reside where the intersection of Branch Avenue and Moores Road meet. The reason I'm providing this information is because of the increase in traffic that will travel northbound from Saddle Ridge, passing the intersection of Moores Road. Residents on Moores Road have been and still are faced with heavy northbound and southbound traffic that passes the intersection daily, all day. There's only one way in and out of the neighborhood, which makes it difficult entering and exiting to the highway. We have been in constant contact with the state highway administration about the serious issues we're having at the intersection that should have been resolved years ago. There has been unnecessary accidents resulting in serious casualties at this intersection that should not have happened due to the lack of infrastructure. Also, there has been no major road improvements on county roads in southern Prince George's County to accommodate the influx of traffic resulting from new housing developments. According to the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration, there has been no major road improvement at the Branch Avenue and Moores Road intersection since 1969, which is 54 years. Until infrastructure has been properly addressed and constructed in southern Prince George's County, there should be a stop or hold on housing development at this time. Brandywine's population has grown tremendously with the same facilities with 100% of growth, which is not fair to new homeowners who have moved into the area, nor will it be fair to those planning to invest in a home in Brandywine with the lack of infrastructure. With all that's been shared about southern Prince George's County and needing growth, the infrastructure is not here yet. Traveling northbound from Saddle Ridge toward Clinton, from Saddle Ridge toward Clinton, passing Morris Road on Branch Avenue, there are 2 lanes north and 2 lanes south. And from there on, beyond south of Saddle Ridge, there's 3 lanes, and then toward Clinton, it turns into 3 lanes. But from Saddle Ridge, passing Morris Road, it turns into 2 lanes. And we have, it's really difficult to get out on the highway, and we've had some serious casualties. So my thing is infrastructure first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you taking the time to come speak today. Next, we'll hear from Louise Gallia.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Shapiro and the members of the Planning Board. My name's Louise Gallia.
Ms. Gallia, before you go,
Yes.
Were you sworn in?
Yes, I was.
Okay, go ahead. Please continue.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, for the record, my name's Louise Gallia, the HOA Vice President of the Villages of Savannah. This is a community located in Floral Park Road. Today, I stand before you to express our collective opposition to the proposed Saddle Ridge development near our neighborhood. First and foremost, I want to emphasize that our community recognizes the importance of responsible development. We understand that growth and progress are essential for any community. However, our concerns primarily revolve around the inadequacy and insufficient infrastructure in this area, which we've been hearing since this morning. Specifically along Floral Park Road, Accokeek Road, Brandywine Road, and McHenry Road, where these roads are only 1 lane on both sides. And this creates significant safety concerns. These concerns are not merely hypothetical, but based on factual and concrete evidence. We believe that the existence of infrastructure cannot adequately support a new development of this magnitude. Our roads, utilities, and public services are already strained, and adding another development without clear and plan to upgrade these essential systems would be detrimental to our community. We are also concerned about ambulances, fire trucks, other emergency services, which will face difficulties in navigating through these narrow roads. Furthermore, developing this commitment to road improvements only aggravates the safety risk. Moreover, our community has been grappling with lack of insufficient or sufficient educational facilities to accommodate the growing numbers of families and their children. The absence of adequate schools not only impacts the quality of education, but also puts undue pressure on existing institutions, jeopardizing the learning environment for our children. Please take note that in Brandywine, we do have 2 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Furthermore, the current state of traffic congestion in our area is a daily struggle for residents. As you know, Branch Avenue, 301, and Route 5 alone is congested starting at 4 a.m. The roads leading to Floral Park Road, again, Accokeek, Brandywine roads, McHenry are often gridlocking during these peak hours. Adding Saddle Ridge development without comprehensive plan to mitigate these problems would exacerbate these issues, making it even more challenging for the current residents of Brandywine to commute and access essential services. We're also concerned about the potential depreciation of our properties. The quality of life of our residents is paramount to us. Lastly, in conclusion, we are not against responsible and sustainable development. However, Saddle Ridge development, as currently proposed, raises significant concerns about the impact of our community's infrastructure, educational resources, traffic, safety, property values, and adherence to zoning regulations. We believe that any responsible developer should consider these concerns and work in cooperation with existing communities to ensure harmonious integration of new developments. We kindly request that the Saddle Ridge development applicants reconsider their proposals, considering their concerns and seeking ways to address these issues collaboratively. We're open to dialogue and working together to ensure the future that this is beneficial to all residential areas in this community. Also, I urge the Prince George's County Planning Board to reconsider the proposed Saddle Ridge development and prioritize the improvement of existing infrastructure, the establishment of new schools, the preservation of communities' value and integrity in Brandywine. We believe that the thoughtful, inclusive, and comprehensive approach to development is essential for the sustainable well-being of all residents in this area. We're open to collaborating with the PG Planning Board and other stakeholders to find sustainable and mutual beneficial solutions that upholds the best interests of our community. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that our concerns will be taken into consideration for the move forward of these development plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kalia. Thank you for your very thoughtful remarks. Appreciate that. I don't think we have anyone else who's signed up to speak. I did have a Demetia King. Demetia King, you on the line? So that's all we have signed up to speak. I'm going to turn back to Mr. Tedesco for, Mr. Brown, jump in at any time as you feel like you need to, by all means. Mr. Tedesco, I'll turn back to you for rebuttal and close.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, I want to thank Ms. Kauser, Ms. Gallia, and Ms. Powell for their impassioned and very heartfelt testimony this morning or late morning. As I hope each and every one of them know that we are absolutely transparent, desiring and willing to work with each and every one of them as this project moves forward, as we've done since the inception of the basic plan 2 years ago. We remain open and willing to meet with them and any of their groups and offer that publicly here today. I think each has my contact information, and I welcome the opportunity to have dialogue as represented by some of the testimony here today. We welcome that and we encourage it. Unfortunately, notwithstanding our efforts to have that outreach by hosting those meetings that a few attended, I think some of the items that you heard today, we could have had an opportunity to clarify with respect to a lot of Ms. Kauser's testimony this morning. And so let me just address that for her publicly going forward. As the board knows, but oftentimes the citizenry doesn't, our entitlement process in Prince George's County is quite complex and very layered. This property was the subject of a basic plan, as I mentioned, which was basically the rezoning to the comprehensive design zone. That comprehensive design zone under the prior zoning ordinance then requires a three-phase process. Basic plan, CDP, specific design plan from the zoning perspective. And then from the subdivision perspective, the APFO testing perspective, it also includes it requires a preliminary plan of subdivision. So we are at the second stage of a three-step zoning process and still have to do the preliminary plan of subdivision and the specific design plan. So mostly, if not all of the items that Ms. Kauser testified to as far as seeking specificity are just not ripe currently now at the comprehensive design plan stage. That's not to say, however, that they won't be further drilled down on and specificity provided as requested, as required, not only by the law, but by your staff and by the planning board. So the no specificity to amenities, at the time of CDP, it's comprehensive, it's conceptual. We've provided a conceptual listing of what those facilities may include. At preliminary plan and specific design plan, we will drill down on those in specificity. Same thing with respect to the timing of those amenities. That will be further determined with preliminary plan, ADQ, and specific design plan. There were comments with respect to emergency responses and services. Again, at the time of preliminary plan and the adequate certificate of adequacy, the ADQ, all those things will be tested. Currently, the response times in this area for both police and fire are being met. However, at the time that the preliminary plan is filed, they will be further tested in the 12-month reporting cycles as required by law. The specific design plan will include landscaping and lighting, elevations of all homes, elevations of all amenities. With respect to the park facilities, we will have on-site private park amenities, but also as part of our CDP text and statement of justification, at page 8 of your backup, which is also page 8 of our justification statement, in addition to this, the SARC facility, which was mentioned in testimony, there's also the Costco Regional Park to the north. There's the Hill and Trey Community Park to the northwest, as well as the Accokeek East Community Park. There's also a master plan trail network within Brandywine that is partially developed through the Chatsford community and will continue further south into points south of McKendree. There's trails within the Timothy Branch project connecting to Brandywine Road that ultimately connect to the SARC facility. So there is I just offer that to say there is a network of public facilities, park and recreational facilities. Certainly your staff could do a much better job of going through those facilities and all the amenities that they provide, but there are amenities within this area. With respect to Ms. Gallia's testimony, again, I would echo her thoughts as far as working together. We would like nothing more but to continue to work with the community. I do want to just clarify for the record one point as far as very impassioned testimony with respect to not being opposed to reasonable, sustainable development. That's precisely what this project is. But if you take that to its logical conclusion with respect to the testimony, given everything else that was testified to regarding other concerns regarding infrastructure and things of that was mentioned, what that really means is that they're not supportive of any development because there is a transportation congestion traffic problem on Route 5. Nobody is denying or trying to minimize that. Again, it's due to regional traffic that serves other parts of the jurisdiction, which is precisely why since 1993, the county has implemented a road club for development to contribute. This project would contribute up to $3 million. So it's somewhat difficult to say we're supportive of responsible development, but we have a traffic problem. And until that's fixed, we're not supportive of any development. It gets fixed through development in the utilization of the road club, as well as frontage improvements and other road project improvements. And so although I was trying to avoid it, I do want to mention in response to a comment that there's been no substantial road improvement projects in Brandywine since the 60s, I believe was the testimony. That's just factually not correct. The Brandywine Crossing Center constructed a fourth northbound through lane on US 301 from Clymer through Clymer and Chatsford Road for more than 2,500 lineal feet. That's completed. The Calm Retreat project to the south is constructing a fourth southbound through lane on US 301 for approximately 2,000 linear feet. Those are in permitting process and nearly completed. Construction will start on that next year. Further, at Calm Retreat, dedication and construction of A55, a master plan arterial roadway from US 301 to the western limits of the property connecting General Lafayette, which gives the community residents of Chatsford an alternate means of access to 301 and 5. Currently, there's only one. that's a very significant road improvement project for the Brandywine community and in particular the Chatsford community. The Village's Timothy Branch constructed the Mattawoman Drive A63 Master Plan Arterial Roadway south of Brandywine Road to connect it to Mattapeak Business Drive for more than 7,000 linear feet. It created a long-needed connection between Brandywine Crossing Brandywine Crossing Shopping Center and Brandywine Road. That's a local road for the Brandywine community. The Stevens Crossing project to the east of here on the north side of Brandywine Road, dedicating and constructing A63, a master plan arterial roadway from Brandywine Road north to US 301. The Harmony at Brandywine project is constructing a portion of the Branch Avenue safety improvements contemplated by the State Highway Administration, including the construction of a partial service road along the southbound side of Maryland 5, along with J-turns to accommodate displaced left turns. Will be in the future. In addition, we've had, as the community has had communications with the State Highway Administration with respect to potential improvements at Branch Avenue and Birch Hill and Moores Lane. And we were notified that the State Highway Administration is looking at both short, mid, and long-term recommendations that may include partial signal at Moores Road. The Traffic Forecasting Analysis Division is performing an analysis of various alternatives that would be completed with the analysis of findings later this fall. So the infrastructure issues as they exist today in Brandywine are well known. The master plan anticipates the utilization of the road club. This project is a well thought out, well designed, sustainable project that is in conformance with the master plan and conformance with the policy and goals of the general plan. Will make improvements along Floral Park Road as well as Accokeek Road as part of its frontage in the form of dedication and widening. That will be further determined and vetted with the preliminary plan and ADQ. But we do anticipate dedication. It's also provided for in your staff referral on pages 67 through 70 as it relates to those immediate improvements resulting of this project. So for all those reasons, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we are confident that this project within close proximity to a local center, as well as all the amenities that will bring the housing that is desperately needed, will not be an unreasonable burden on existing or future infrastructure and will be part of the solution to raising funds as well as making improvements to improve as other projects have in the area, the infrastructure. And finally, I just want to conclude, I was remiss, there was a mention about school adequacy. The last subdivision I did in Brandywine, just south of here, the school adequacy in this area, the schools are not at capacity. Nevertheless, that will be further tested at the time of preliminary plan of subdivision, which is the next step in this development process. And the applicant will be required to pay both a school facility surcharge, which is currently over $19,000 a unit, as well as the public safety and behavioral health surcharge, which I believe is about $9,000 a unit currently, and that goes up every year. So with that being said, from an actual development standpoint, as well as from a surcharge standpoint, this project will both be contributing financially as well as physically to the environment and the area, and will not be a detriment to existing facilities in the area. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would just conclude. I want to again thank the citizens and welcome every opportunity to meet and to continue to meet and to have dialogue as this project hopefully moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teska. That's your rebuttal and close.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. That was rebuttal, and in closing, we would respectfully request that the planning board approve the CDP as recommended by your staff to and include the revisions to findings and conditions in applicant's Exhibit 1 as further modified by Ms. Lockhart and her closing comments with respect to the finding at page 13, revising that particular finding as verbally provided into the record. And we would conclude with that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Teska. Appreciate that. Mr. Brown, anything from your side before we close the public hearing?
I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it to us commissioners for any deliberation, discussion, and consideration of action. But first, any deliberation, any discussion, any thoughts, reactions?
None really. I would just like to certainly thank the citizens for coming out, and I would ask them to pay special attention to, of all Mr. Tedesco's comments as part of his rebuttal. The most important thing to remember is we're still very early in the process, and I also made notes on a lot of the things that all three of you commented on. So please stay engaged, stay a member of record, and you know, there's an opportunity to further weigh in on many of what you brought forward today. So thank you.
Thank you. I would associate myself with those remarks. Thank you very much, Commissioner Washington. Anything else, commissioners? If not, I would turn to you, and what is your pleasure? What action would you like to take?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and the findings as further modified by applicant exhibit number 1, in addition to the modification as read into the record by staff related to the finding on page 13. And with that, approve CDP-22001 and TCP1-012-2023, along with the conditions and considerations as outlined in staff's report and as further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. Under discussion, the only thing I would say is this is for you, Ms. Scalia, Ms. Kauser, and Ms. Powell. Just please continue to stay involved in this process. I can't tell you how many times we see that diligent community involvement leads to better outcomes. Truly, truly does. So please stay involved. Thank you for the detail at which you approached your testimony, and we look forward to hearing from you as we continue down this road, okay? Thank you all very much. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to associate myself with the comments made by you and Commissioner Washington, and to encourage the citizens to stay involved. Your involvement makes a difference in our final decisions. And so thank you very much for coming out, and we certainly do appreciate your comments. Stay involved.
Thank you. There's no further comments. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
But aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner. I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you all very much for your participation in this. And thank you, Mr. Brown. Good to see you again.